All right, everybody, let's get started here today. Welcome to today's live stream for Restora Funding. Thanks so much for showing up. And today we're going to be talking about authorized user accounts and how this can improve your credit profile, increase your credit score, increase your average credit age, and things like that. Okay. Now, an authorized user can also be referred to as a trade line. So for any of you out there who have been doing your own research, maybe understand credit a little bit, trade line, authorized user account, they kind of go hand in hand in the personal credit world. Okay. So that all being said, we'll just go ahead and jump right in today. And first, we want to talk about what is an authorized user. Looks like we got a few viewers here. If you guys can go ahead and just drop down in the comments where you're watching from, I'd love to get to know some of you a little bit more. That'd be awesome. So, authorized users. Now, an authorized user is basically another person's or maybe a company's credit card that is going to report onto your credit report as if it was kind of like your own credit card. Okay, to put this in a nutshell. So let's say I have a $5,000 credit card with Wells Fargo, and that credit card has been around since 2020. If I added you as an authorized user onto that account in maybe around 30, 45 days, that account would actually report on your credit report, kind of like your credit card. And what actually happens is the bank, Wells Fargo, would make a credit card with your name on it. And if you got a hold of that card, you could actually spend my credit, right? And I would be responsible for paying that back. Now, in a nutshell, that's kind of how an authorized user works and what it is. Why is that a thing? Well, I want you to imagine if you were like a parent, right? And you had maybe an 18-year-old kid who you wanted to make sure that they had funds on hand in case they ever needed it for an emergency, or if they just wanted to go out with some friends and like do something fun. You, as a parent, might add your kid as an authorized user so they have their own credit card, but they actually don't have their own line of credit. So they're not spending their own money. You're actually the one who's responsible for the money. So this is kind of what the purpose of authorized users are for. Another example is kind of like an employee card. So if you have a company card and you're the CEO, you might get employee cards. That's kind of like an authorized user as well, where your employees can spend the company's money when needed. However, if you do this, for your 18-year-old kid, your credit card's going to report on their credit report, right? And so what happens is that credit line, the $5,000 Wells Fargo card and the card being open since 2020, making it like, as of today, maybe 4 years old, that's going to report on their credit. So for a kid, that's a lot of credit age that just got added to their credit report, as well as a high credit line. So this can overall improve people's credit report when you add an authorized user onto their credit. Okay. And that's kind of what it's used for. Now, authorized users are going to be most effective for anyone who has either a thin credit profile. And if you don't know what a thin credit profile is, there was a live stream I did a few weeks back on how to have a thick credit report. Now, a thin credit profile usually means that they don't have that many personal credit cards. They don't have many like loans, like student loans or auto loans or mortgages or anything like that. And in order to display to the banks that you are good at wielding debt, you want to have shown that in the past you actually taken on a lot of credit accounts, taken on a lot of loans, you've successfully paid them back. So for thin credit reports, getting an authorized user or two to report on that report will basically thicken it up, right? It's going to increase the credit age. It's going to increase the overall credit limit. It's actually going to decrease utilization as well, which I'll talk about here in a second. But it's basically more accounts that you can add on like that, right? Strong accounts. And this is really effective for thin credit reports before going into business funding. Okay, another thing that an authorized user can be good for is, as I said, having a young credit age. So for people who are younger, or maybe if you just don't have a lot of credit cards, but you just got a new one and your credit age is only maybe a year or two old, you might want to consider getting an authorized user account that has a really high credit age, maybe a card that was opened in like 2010, which would then give you a 14-year-old credit card reporting to your credit report. Okay. So when you go to the banks and you apply and they pull your credit, they're not going to see that you've only had an average credit age of 1 year. They're going to see that it's been like 9 years because that that 14-year-old credit card is offsetting your primary account's age. And a primary account is basically an account that you as an individual own. Okay. So if you own the credit card and that was yours, you opened it with the bank, that's a primary account. If it's not your account and it's someone else's that's reporting to your report, that's an authorized user card. And the banks understand the difference generally, but your credit score doesn't understand the difference. And so your credit score will be based on your actual average age. So people with a young credit age get authorized user accounts to quickly boost that. And that's going to increase your credit score with it really quickly. Okay. Now, we recommend at Restora Funding having an average credit age of a minimum of 2.5 years before applying for business funding. So if your credit age isn't at least 2.5 years old on average, and you can see this if you use Credit Karma, Experian, MyScoreIQ, any of the credit monitoring services will show you this. If your average age isn't at least 2.5 years, I would recommend getting an authorized user to boost your credit age as soon as possible. Okay. Now, authorized users can also help with credit card utilization, right? If you have one credit card and it's a $5,000 limit and you owe $2,500 to it, that's half of the limit that you owe. That's a 50% utilization. We at Restora Funding recommend having under 30% utilization across all of your personal credit cards. So sometimes by getting an authorized user that has a $10,000 limit and no balance on it, that means your overall credit limit is 5,000 plus 10,000, $15,000. And out of that $15,000, you only owe 2,500. So your utilization percentage is no longer 50%. It's going to be a lot lower. And that's going to boost your credit score like crazy, right? So for anyone who owes a lot of money, over 30% usage in credit card debt to their personal cards, the authorized user is really going to be able to help with that as well. Okay. So these are kind of some of the archetypes that we recommend getting authorized users for. Also, if you just have generally lower credit limits, we recommend having at least one card with a $10,000 credit limit, which a lot of people don't have. An authorized user can be a good thing to add onto your report to show the banks that you do have accounts reporting with higher credit limits than what you currently have. So ultimately, what you want to do is look at your credit report, figure out, do I have a young credit age? Do I have a thin profile? Do I have low credit limits? Do I have high utilization? And then you want to go from there and figure out which credit cards are the best for you to get. Do you want an older credit card? Do you want maybe a newer credit card, but that has a higher credit limit because you have otherwise low credit limits or high utilization? It all starts with seeing where the weak points are in your credit report and boosting that with the authorized user accounts. Now, this all being said, where can you actually get an authorized user of your own? Okay, so how do you make this all happen? The first place that I would recommend starting with is friends or family. Okay, so if you have like your dad or your cousin or a friend of yours who just has really good credit, they have like a $26,000 American Express card that's 10 years old, you can explain to them that they can add you as an authorized user. And when the bank, American Express in this example, makes that card, it's actually going to get shipped to their house. So it doesn't get shipped to your house as the user. The bank will ship it to the owner of the card's house, the original owner. And they don't need to give you that credit card. We recommend just cutting it up with a pair of scissors because you don't necessarily need to spend on it. That's not the point. The point is that by the next billing cycle, that credit card is actually going to report to your credit report. Okay. So it's pretty much a relationship where you as the authorized user are going to be benefited, and the person who's allowing you to be a user on their card, it doesn't affect them at all, right? So no harm, no foul, right? It's going to help you a lot. It's not going to affect them in any way. So any friends or family, they'll do this for you for free, and they'll keep you on the card for oftentimes life, right? Like they have no reason to really remove you in most cases. So that's where I would recommend starting first, friends and family. Now, there are a lot of companies out there that you can also purchase authorized user accounts from. I would recommend just doing your due diligence and only working with a company that you trust, or a company that is recommended to you in your local network. So I'm going to show you all the company that I recommend. And this company has been doing authorized users for a long time. If anyone wants me to drop this in the comments, I'll send it to you. Just go ahead and drop the word trade line supply down in the comments section below. Okay. Tradelinesupply.com, though, this is the company. It's pretty simple the way they work. They got their homepage. You can sell trade lines on there. So if I wanted to actually put my credit cards up to be able to be used by any consumers on this website, I could do that, right? And I could make money doing that. But where you want to be looking is the buy trade lines. Okay. And this is the only trade line supply company I trust for authorized users. So how does this work? You can call them Monday through Friday, all good. They got some discounts here for you if you want to buy 2 or 3. I would recommend only having like 2 authorized user accounts for yourself on your credit report. You don't really want to go overboard with this stuff. But you can see here all of the trade lines that they have available. Okay. So we have a Chase card, $5,000. It was opened in 2020. I think that's an exact example I gave earlier. You want to purchase it by May 31st. And the reason it says a purchase deadline is because you want it to report by June 11th to June 18th. So within this 7-day window is the reporting cycle. And that's when it is going to report onto your credit report as long as you purchase the trade line by May 31st. Okay, so you see that they have one in stock. They're charging about $322, which is usually the minimum for this company is going to be right around $300. And on the high end, they go as high as like $1,600, which let's see right here. Oh, see, almost $1,800 for this one, this $63,000 Chase card from 2012. You see, we got some older ones from 1993. So if you have a really young credit age, maybe one of these older ones is going to be better for you. And all you have to do is add it to the cart and go ahead and just follow the next steps there, right? That one's not in stock. Great. You get the point, though. Trade line supply. Great company right here. Now, one question you might have, how long do these trade lines stay on your account? And this is one of the reasons why I recommend using friends and family to get authorized users first, because they'll usually leave you on for like maybe a year or maybe until they forget to take you off. So it just kind of stays on. With these companies, usually you're looking at a reporting period of about 2 billing cycles. So about 2 months, 60 days-ish, right? So what you want to do is if you're planning on applying for business funding, especially through our services here at Restora Funding, if people have like very thin credit reports, we might want them to sign up with Trade Line Supply and get maybe 1 or 2 authorized user accounts before moving forward with our done-for-you funding services, so that this way we can bolster their credit report and make it more attractive before we go into the banks and apply for funding. Okay, young credit age, thin credit reports, low credit limits, maybe high utilization, although we always do recommend paying down your credit cards anyway. Authorized users are not always a solution, but they are a supplement, right? They're there to help your credit report become stronger, but they're not going to make your credit report strong all on their own. So what I would recommend is getting the trade lines right before you're planning on applying for business funding. And then you have about 60 days to get that business funding, make it happen, let the banks all pull your credit in that time frame, and then these will go ahead and drop off. So we'll play around with this a little bit more. We can sort it by credit limit. The lowest is 1,500. Good age on that one. The highest is that 63K Chase card. We can sort it by date opened, recent ones, all the way back to 1993, 50K Chase card, right? So really, you can kind of just do this however you want and play with it. But if there's any questions about any of this, go ahead and just drop your questions in the comments down below, and I'll make sure to answer those. Otherwise, that's all I got for today. Go ahead and review your credit reports, right? See if there's any weaknesses that you think a trade line could help. I'll go ahead and drop trade line supply in the comments for those of you who wanted it, and we'll go from there. But last but not least, If anyone is looking at their credit report after watching this video and thinking, all right, my credit's pretty strong, I think I'm ready for funding, get in touch with me. All you got to do is drop the word funding down below. Sophia and I, for Facebook community members only, are acquiring up to $150,000 in completely 0% interest business and real estate funding for the next 30 days for our Facebook community members. Okay. So if that's you, drop funding down below and I'll get back to you with a book a call link. Okay. Have a great day and thanks for showing up.